All right, guys, we're here with Zach Maslany. He is CJI's official judge. This is year 2 for Zach. So Zach, let me ask you, you were a judge last year, you were a judge this year. This year we're doing teams. What is the biggest difference you're seeing in excitement? What's better and maybe what's worse?
Well, the team thing definitely brings a different aspect to it, and the way we're judging it, there's not open scoring, so I feel like the teams don't know whether they're actually winning or they're losing the team event. So
right.
Maybe sometimes that takes a little bit away from the urgency from some of the athletes trying to really go for the sub. Like if they knew they were down, maybe they would like really start throwing caution to the wind and trying to sub guys, but I think maybe it kind of slowed it down a little bit in some of the matches. Plus, the guys are just so good. So it's really hard to submit, someone who's a black belt in 8 minutes, that's been training forever. Even some of the younger guys, it's pretty hard to sub them. So, but yeah, I still think it was a great night. It was a lot of crazy matches. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that maybe next year we should go back to the CJI rule set like we did for the women at the end of the event?
Yeah, for the regular, I think that was really hype, and I think maybe just having the teams. Everybody likes the teams because you can get behind it. Even when we do the finishers, like everybody's so pumped. Like that always brings out the most people because it's like the camaraderie of being on the team and everyone's ready to go for it. But it is cool. Brackets are cool, and I think just you kind of fall in love with one guy, and you're like, man, I hope this guy takes it. And he wins a couple of matches in a row, and you get to see the same guys over and over again. This you might see like one really good guy in a weird matchup, and then he's gone. So
absolutely.
The other way brings like people. You get to see like the Rotolos 4 times in a night or 3 times in a night, something like that. So
absolutely. All right. So the biggest controversies of the night were some taps or not taps seen around the world. So we had 2 different taps that did or did not happen. How do you feel? Did Giancarlo tap from your position?
When looking at that one, I couldn't really tell. It looked like he kind of tapped, but like he went to tap and then maybe he was like, whatever, I'm gonna keep going. Like I've done that too, even in matches where like I'd be like, cut that, no,
I didn't mean
and then
it.
you're kind of out, yeah. So that one was so tough. Like where I was sitting too, like I can only see his hand, but like the wrist movement looked like it went. But I'm sure you want to ask me about the Gio one too.
And of course, yes, Gio, how do you feel about that?
That one too, I feel like from the one angle I just saw on Flow Grappling when I was looking at my phone, it looked like it was not a tap. But from where I was sitting, it looked like he did tap, but he didn't. His reaction afterwards didn't make it seem like he tapped.
Right.
Like, because he was like, like this.
It looked like he was
felt
pushing
like he
it
was
down.
maybe pushing off,
Yeah.
So maybe the first one was, the second one wasn't. But, one thing, again, not to bring up finishers again, but one thing I always tell the referees is like, these guys are grown-ups. Everybody knows what they're getting into, even though in our event, a lot of times it's for $0 and it's for $1 million. But you gotta, there wasn't be any controversy. You have to tap out and make it known. Like maybe tomorrow, if they ask me, like we did a little debriefing, if they ask me any, advice, I would say, tell Big John, and I'll probably tell him this too, to really go over with the athletes, like, look, we don't want what happened yesterday. Please, verbal tap, scream, tap, yell, whatever. But you have to, if you want out of this match, you got to let us know because we're not going to stop it. And then we don't want guys to get hurt as well.
Definitely.
From like guys realizing like, hey, if I let go of this, it's like a fake, what we used to call back in
Brazilian
the day. The
tap.
Brazil tap, no disrespect, respectfully,
Yeah. And with Gio, the ref actually called that and stopped the match, whereas with Giancarlo, it wasn't stopped right away. So there was a little bit of difference in how that was handled as well.
Yeah, and like for Taylor, like he let go and then stopped, so maybe that was a good thing in his favor because they were like, well, wait a minute, but like I always tell the guys too, especially with like Thor and all the other guys competing, like when he gets on subs, sometimes he'll pop a guy's knee or pop a guy's arm, and you're like, oh my God, like let it go, but then the guy just keeps going. You're like, what, bro? That's a win. But if they didn't tap out multiple times, so not that we're ever telling guys as a coach to like, hey, I want you to hurt this guy, but look, you got to really get it.
Definitely.
So that way it's like 100%. There's no controversy like, well, did he tap or didn't he?
Especially when $1 million is on the line.
Exactly, yeah. So.
Yeah, I think when things like this happen, it usually motivates for a new type of rule to be implemented, right? So we might see that in the future. So we had 22 matches as far as the team matches. 17 of those, as I'm sure you know, were draws. Does that surprise you?
Honestly, no, because if you look at the old other quintets, there's a lot of draws.
Yeah.
It is really hard for a big guy to submit a small guy sometimes, especially if they just ball up.
Right.
And it's kind of tough, even though with heel hooks, and even the other quintet doesn't have heel hooks, still a lot of, it just, bottom line, 8 minutes, these guys are so good, it's so hard to tap really good guys in 8 minutes. You
Definitely.
might need, Flow Grappling's who's number one, 15-minute match, and we still don't see a sub.
Yeah.
ADCC, 20-minute match, 30-minute match, or
Right.
whatever. It's not 30 minutes, there, right? 20 minutes. 20 minutes, but who's number one championship, 30-minute match, no sub. I mean, you need some time for someone to, quit or, whatever. So that's why only 8 minutes is tough. And 3-5s, you can kind of like, end because it's only one round. So it's like, all right, the match is over and then that's it. As the 3-5s, you can coach can be like, hey, look,
Right.
this time go out there and try
make the
this.
adjustment,
Yeah.
right.
Or look, you're
Yes.
losing by 2, you gotta sub them,
Yeah,
So
it was
that
like
brings a different element.
I wanted to see an overtime when it went to a draw, but I didn't just because it's now almost 1 a.m. in the
Exactly,
morning.
yeah.
So it's like a
I knew it was
toss
gonna
up.
be late though, so.
Oh, definitely. So as far as Helena versus Adele, we're already seeing on Instagram people are saying that Adele might have got a little bit screwed over. How did you score the match?
Yeah, I scored it. I would have to actually, you know what? I do have my scores right
You're like
here, so let's just
Steve
make
from
sure
Blue's
before
Clues.
I talk out my butt. But I'm pretty sure everybody was on the same page. Maybe one judge might have been off. Oh no, wait, it's this one. Bring out my paperwork here. I brought receipts.
For real.
Well, if you have to, if you're standing on business right here, I gave the first round to Helena, the second round to Adele because she did have some better attacks in round 2. But one of the main things that we judge is it's initiating effective action. So, I might look at that match and say, who's actually initiating the thing? Like, okay, Adele pulls, okay, that's nothing, right? But then Helena steps in and pushes her down and gets her on her back and
Right.
kind of gets her flat, almost gets an underhook, is able to push forward and kind of initiate those reactions, go back and forth.
Right.
And in the second round, Adele really got a lot better attacks, and she was a little more offensive. In the third round, she did have one kind of sort of attack, but the footlocks from Helena, I think, pushed her over the edge in maybe the second round, because some of them we're not going to judge as deep or as the other ones because she's kind of just dropping back.
Right.
And that's not really effective.
Right.
But the ones where she did drop back and have Aoki's on and she had to actually get on her head and
Right.
spin over
It's a
and
catch.
stuff. Yeah, and at that point she's not scoring and Helena is, so I know that may be annoying for some people to watch, but I mean she is she's making attempts and she's trying to finish the fight. Some of those were pretty deep.
Yeah.
So I still scored it. Adele for round 2, the other 2 for Helena. And I know it might be a little bit in everyone's head because of the Fion match, and
That's
UFC
true.
was a little bit different rules. UFC's judging criteria is slightly different than the ones that they use here for Craig
Right.
Jones. So, in that match, had I had scored Adele versus Fion, I would have given it to Adele.
Okay. And I think we all kind of agree. I think
all
even
3
Fion
rounds.
agreed with that, right?
All 3 rounds, I would have
Yeah.
gave it to her, but this one was just a little bit different.
Yeah.
She wasn't able to get as many Choi bars. She really didn't have any foot attacks. In the Fion match, she popped Fion's foot. I mean,
Yeah,
that round 2
for sure.
should have been decisive for her. You know what I mean? But different criteria. So I don't
Yeah.
want to speak on UFC's behalf. I don't want to get sued. No, just kidding.
No worries. Just real quick, any opinion on the pigtails?
Yeah, that's kind of annoying. I
Yeah.
think she probably should have had to. It's tough
him
for
back.
it's really tough for the not the judges, the referees, and as it's happening. And you're sometimes you see things like, hey, bro, look at that fingernail, you got to cut that,
Right.
or someone has some weird tape or something. But that's kind of a tough one to call. Hey, you got to put your hair up.
Yeah.
But that's super annoying. It's like when someone wears a T-shirt instead of a rash guard.
Right,
and
you're,
T-shirt's
being
in your
smothered.
face. You're like, come on, man,
Yeah.
get that out of there. So, that's another thing where it's now we're getting down to the minutia of rules. Oh man, should
Right.
that be in the rules and should it not? It's should just be a gentle woman's agreement there. I'm not going to let my hair flying in your face
Right.
the whole time.
Yeah.
It was even in the first round, I felt like it was bothering her.
Oh, for
You know
sure,
what I mean?
yeah.
She was going like this the whole time.
Yeah, and we were saying
So,
it
yeah.
takes away kind of one of your arms if you're using it to wipe
you
something
can't
away.
see what's going on. It's just annoying. You're eating
sure.
someone's hair. So
For sure.
put it in a ponytail.
In your opinion, who was the fight of the night?
Probably the last match.
Definitely.
I didn't really know much about Sarah Gavel. but I think that's why she was, you know, the wild card or whatever. And you know, Vieira, I've seen her compete so many times. She's a beast, you know. And you know, these young kids, they don't stop moving. How old is she?
I think she's 19.
19, yeah. They don't stop moving. They've grown up in jiu-jitsu, and I've been talking about it all weekend with a lot of different, the judges, the referees, you know, just the different coaches and stuff that, you know, just the next level of kid coming up, whether it's you know, male or female, is insane right now. Like,
Definitely.
they know everything, you know, and they're bendable, so they can like flip over and fly on their backs, and you know, they'll just go for things, you know, and you know, I think some of the older guys are like, you know, they know the consequences, where the younger kids are just like, I'm just gonna let it fly.
You can lose a
know?
tooth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've never seen that before. I've seen that in UFC 1, you know what I mean, but never in.
See, they say we're not
CJI,
fighting out here,
yeah.
but
I mean, yeah, you know what? And this is controversial. This might be the most controversial thing I did all night, because people will get mad. And I got a bunch of MMA fights, so don't tell me like that guy's never fought or whatever, right? I've done a bunch of MMA fights, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. Sometimes when I leave jiu-jitsu, I feel like I was just in an MMA fight.
100%.
I feel like I got a beating in there. And you know, so some guys always want to, you know, step on the lower guy, but I feel like, man, these in here, the way they were clubbing each other, some of those small guys had to go with those big guys. It's like it's pretty close to a fight, if
100%.
not. You know what I mean?
I
We're not
agree.
playing, you know, what's the new game that they play with the paddles now?
Oh, pickleball?
Yeah, we're not playing I mean, look, pickleball, that is not a fight. This is pretty close to a fight.
It's pretty close
yeah.
to a fight. I would have
Apples
to
and
agree.
oranges.
For sure. Were any of the teams surprising you? Do you think any of them did better than you expected?
You know what? With the teams, I feel like it could just anything could happen, because you don't know who's going to come up, and you know, you kind of have to like you see weird matchups where like maybe a bigger guy is kind of tough to tap a smaller guy. So I think the biggest thing is the teams are going to make the adjustments tonight. They're going to talk about it, and then tomorrow they're going to be like, okay, you know, we got to realize like, hey, we're not going to know the scores. We got to push it. And I think some of those guys, not that they were holding back, but they were maybe thinking, hey, we're winning, I could coast a little bit, you know, as opposed to if they knew like, hey, if I get tapped, who cares? I have to tap them or we're going to lose. So
Yeah.
I think, you know, they might make that adjustment, especially when the $1 million are going to be like, all right, we got to, it's time to go. You know what I mean? It's
For
time to
sure. Any opinion on Craig's match tomorrow?
go. I'm judging that one too, so I
Can't
have no
say too
idea.
much?
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, you know, it all depends on what Chael, you know, decides to do. You know, I did see a lot of guys going for leg locks, and the person on top will kind of drop to their knees. You know, but Craig's so good at coming up on top, and you know, I don't think you know, Chael is too keen on some of the, you know, I don't know if he knows where the false reap is, you know. He might tell you otherwise, but, you know, we'll see. It's fun, and, you know, some people hate those matches, like they don't like Jake Paul and all these other guys, but you know what, at least they're bringing eyes to the sport.
For sure.
And, you know, if you don't like it, don't watch it. You know what I mean?
100%.
Skip that one. Go out, have a beer or whatever. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Anything else you want to add?
No, but I'm just, you know, I'm really happy to be here, and you know, I think this is awesome. I know I always see, every time I turn on the Instagram, I always see people complaining about shit, and it's like, I always say, like, you could literally send everyone a free pizza and they complain about it. You know what I mean? So just be happy, enjoy the matches. You know what I mean? It's all in good fun, and jiu-jitsu's getting bigger. That's the main goal. So
Absolutely.
that's all I got.
Thanks, Zach.
Yep, no problem. Thank you. Let's go.
We killed it.